Hi, welcome to Low Carb Me and You. I'm Alexander, and today we're going to make savory cabbage rolls with a delightful yogurt sauce. These rolls are wonderfully crunchy, packed with flavor, and complemented perfectly by the freshness of the yogurt sauce. In this video, I'll guide you through the process of preparing the cabbage, making the rolls, and preparing the yogurt sauce. They're not the quickest recipe, but they're well worth the effort. Whether it's for a satisfying meal or a convenient lunch to take with you, these cabbage rolls are sure to impress. To make the rolls, we need the following ingredients: a medium or large cabbage, half and half mince, a bunch of fresh dill, a bird's eye chili, half a large onion, cumin powder, Laos powder, freshly ground pepper, sea salt, oil, and a vegetable stock cube that is unfortunately out of shot. To make the rolls, we want to work with semi-cooked cabbage leaves. Take the cabbage and remove any dried or broken outer leaves. Place the whole cabbage in a pot of water and cook it for 20 minutes until it becomes soft and pliable. Alternatively, you can cook individual leaves in a pot for approximately 5 minutes, but be cautious as they may tear more easily. While the cabbage is cooking, let's prepare the yogurt sauce. We'll need some full-fat Greek yogurt, lemon juice, a drizzle of oil, sea salt, freshly ground pepper, and fresh dill. Put all of these ingredients, except the dill, in a bowl and set it aside. Let's take a moment to finely chop the dill. Start by removing the leafy ends from the stalks, ensuring we only use the fragrant and flavorful parts. Coarsely chop the dill and then continue chopping until it becomes finely minced. This will release the maximum amount of flavor. Add the finely chopped dill to the yogurt sauce and mix well. Return the sauce to the refrigerator to let the flavors infuse. It takes time for the flavors to develop, so don't make it just before serving. In the meantime, our cabbage has cooked and softened. It's time to drain all the water and let it rest. We don't want to work with a hot cabbage, our fingers wouldn't like that. Set it aside. Keep in mind that the water has gotten into the cabbage, so it will continue to drain a bit. Now let's move on to the protein. We've got a bit of cutting prep to do, but it'll be worth it for the amazing flavors. Start by finely chopping the dill, just like we did for the yogurt sauce. We want those leafy bits, so chop them up as finely as possible. Dill is the ingredient that ties everything together, adding a wonderful flavor that pairs perfectly with the cabbage and bridges the rolls in sauce. Next, let's finely dice the onion. A smaller dice ensures that the onion cooks properly and prevents any unwelcome chunky bites. We want that great flavor without the texture. If you're looking to reduce the carbs a bit, you can even substitute the onion with onion powder. And of course, we can't forget the heat. Just like everything else, we want a finely diced bird's eye chili. Remove the seeds and get to chopping. Now don't worry, one chili won't make this dish overly spicy. It simply adds a gentle warmth. But if you're craving some extra heat, feel free to add a few more chilies. Yogurt sauce will help balance out the flavors. Before we add all these ingredients to the mince, let's develop some flavor. Grab a saucepan and add the oil and onion. Start by sauteing the onion for a minute to soften it up. Then add the chilies and saute for another minute. Once the onion and chilies are done, it's time to add the cumin and Laos powder. Stir them in for another 30 seconds to release their fantastic flavors. Finally, add a sprinkle of sea salt and pepper, giving it all a good mix. Remove the pan from heat and let it cool. This allows the aromatics to infuse the oil and make it safe to handle later on. By now the cabbage should have cooled down enough for us to handle it. This is where the fun begins, but I must warn you, it can be a bit tedious and time consuming. We need to peel off the leaves to use for our rolls. We'll be aiming for about 12 leaves, but keep in mind that the cooking process might have resulted in variations in their tenderness. The outer leaves are usually a bit softer and almost fully cooked, while the inner ones are a bit sturdier. Start by gently peeling off the outermost leaves. They're usually easier to remove since they have fewer folds, but be careful as they can tear more easily due to being cooked the longest. Take your time and work your way around the cabbage. As you peel off more leaves, you'll find it becomes easier. If needed, you can use a paring knife to cut the leaves at the stem. This gives you a good starting point to begin the peel and a place to wriggle your fingers into for some leverage. A medium-sized cabbage should provide enough leaves for this recipe, but it ultimately depends on your success in peeling them off. Once you're finished, you'll be left with the heart of the cabbage. Although we won't be using it for this recipe, don't even think about tossing it out. You can use it to make a delicious stir fry or add it to another dish for some extra goodness. Now for one final step before the leaves are ready, cut out the thick, hard stem of each leaf by making a small triangle-shaped cut and removing it. This will make it much easier to roll the cabbage leaves later on. Well done! Now it's time to create the flavorful filling for our rolls. Grab a large mixing bowl and add in the mince. Next, add the aromatics we prepared earlier, and be sure to scrape every bit of that goodness from the pan. We want all those incredible flavors in our rolls. And finally, sprinkle in the finely chopped dill. This is where the magic happens. Mix the herbs, spices and aromatics thoroughly through the minced meat. Make sure you really work them in, so that the flavor permeates every bite. However, be cautious to not overly knead the meat. We want the rolls to hold together nicely, but we don't want them to turn into dense logs once they're cooked. So mix with a light touch and let the ingredients do their job in creating a delicious filling that will tantalize your taste buds. Now that our meat filling is ready, it's time to roll up our sleeves and get rolling. Make sure your cabbage leaves have completely cooled down and have your meat filling at the ready. It might also be helpful to have a scale on hand to ensure even portions. We're aiming for about 90 grams of the meat mixture per roll. Considering the size of the leaves, that's the maximum amount that will allow us to create manageable rolls. If you prefer smaller portions, you can certainly make more rolls, but keep in mind that it will increase the overall carb count since a significant portion of the carbs comes from the cabbage. Let's begin. Lay a cabbage leaf flat on your cutting board and bring the bottom corners of the leaf together. Now grab about 90 grams of the meat mixture and shape it into a log that's about 3/4 of the width of the leaf. We want to leave enough room to fold in the sides of the leaf. Place the log just below the middle of the leaf and start rolling. When you reach the halfway point, fold in the sides of the leaf and continue rolling until the end. And voila! That's how you make the rolls. Repeat this process for the remaining 11 rolls. Now don't fret if they don't look absolutely perfect. We're not aiming for perfectly wrapped gifts here. The meat filling will hold together nicely, so all we're doing is giving it a nice outer shell with the cabbage. Just set the rolls down gently on your cutting board or a plate to prevent them from unfolding. Remember, it's the delicious flavor that truly matters. So even if they're not picture perfect, rest assured they will taste absolutely fantastic. Once you've finished assembling the rolls, it's time to bring them to life through the cooking process. Let's get cooking. Start by making the vegetable stock using the stock cube. Bring half a liter of water to a boil and dissolve the cube, creating a flavorful liquid that will enhance the taste of our rolls. Now grab a large pan and carefully place all the rolls into it. We want them to sit snugly next to each other, creating a cozy environment for cooking. Ensure they are arranged nicely in the pan. Pour the prepared vegetable stock over the rolls, almost submerging them in the liquid. This will infuse them with wonderful flavor and keep them moist and tender as they cook. Cover the pan with a lid and bring it to a simmer. Let the rolls cook for approximately 15 minutes, allowing the flavors to melt and the cabbage to soften. You can check for doneness using a meat thermometer. The internal temperature should read over 63 degrees Celsius or 145 Fahrenheit to ensure they are fully cooked. Once the rolls are cooked to perfection, remove the pan from heat and get ready to enjoy your delicious creation. This recipe yields 6 servings, with each person enjoying 2 delicious rolls. When it's time to serve, use a slotted spoon to carefully remove the rolls from the pan. It's important to drain them properly, as there will be a substantial amount of broth, and we're not aiming for a soupy experience. You have a couple of serving options. You can plate the rolls individually with a dollop of the yogurt sauce on top. Remember to give the sauce a good stir before serving to ensure it's perfectly blended. Alternatively, if you're feeling a bit fancy, you can arrange the rolls on a big serving plate, creating an inviting stack. Simply place the yogurt sauce in a separate container, allowing everyone to add as much or as little as they desire. Now here's the great news. These rolls can be prepared in advance and will keep well in the refrigerator for up to a week. This makes them a fantastic option for meal prepping. And guess what? They even taste amazing when enjoyed cold, making them an excellent choice for a satisfying and low-carb lunch. Let's talk about the nutritional breakdown. Each serving of the cabbage rolls contains 4 grams of carbs, 33 grams of protein, 31 grams of fat, and about 446 calories. As for the yogurt sauce, a serving contains 1.5 grams of carbs, 1 gram of protein, 4 grams of fat, and about 51 calories. Thank you for joining me on this flavorful low-carb adventure. I hope you enjoyed this video and found inspiration for your next culinary creation. Don't forget to explore my other recipes for more mouth-watering delights. If you had a great time, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for more tasty content. Until we meet again, keep cooking, stay low-carb, and let your taste buds dance with delight.